Bees, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and welcome to my first ever Be Bettered Again project. Today we are whipping up a gorgeous, creamy, indulgent Shealoe emulsified body butter. So all the way back in 2014, I shared my first Shealoe buttercream. And then back in late 2019, I shared a Be Betterification of it, so a updated formulation using many of the things that I had learned between 2014 and 2019. About a year after I shared that Be Betterification, I started working with a new to me emulsifier called Glyceryl Stearate and PEG 100 Stearate. If you've watched many of my videos recently, I'm sure you've heard me just like wax poetic about this gorgeous emulsifier. And honestly, as soon as I started working with it and saw how it creates really quite naked emulsions without adding thickening or kind of weight to them, I kind of went, I need to revisit the Shealoe thing again. So for this formulation, I want to start off by saying that if you want to make it, you must use this exact emulsifier. Absolutely this exact emulsifier, the entire INCI value must match. If you want to learn more about it, please look it up in the Humblebee and Me encyclopedia. I've provided a lot of the different trade names that it's sold under and links to places to buy it all over the world. It is a relatively easy to purchase ingredient. I found it in many, many different countries, and it's not very new, so it's kind of like the older the technology is, the longer it's had to sort of go forth and prosper. So yeah, if you want to make this formulation, it has to be this emulsifier. If you don't have this emulsifier, just make the version from 2019. But this emulsifier is a huge part of what makes this updated formulation so very much better than the one from 2019. So this beautiful emulsified body butter contains 25% shea butter, like a whopping 25% shea butter, but it's still just it's so, like, comparatively to the 2019 version, it is so light and slippy and gorgeous. There's no like drag or skid. You don't have to like really work it into the skin. It's absolutely lovely. And a soft lavender scent from some lavender hydrosol. And I did choose to use unrefined shea butter. It's a gifted one from Baraka because I actually really love the smell of unrefined shea butter, and lavender is just gorgeous. It honestly gives me pretty strong flashbacks to when I was in university before I started Humblebee and Me, and I think the only essential oil I had at the time was a lavender one that I'd bought from L'Occitane, and I'd bought a tub of shea butter from the St. Lawrence market, and that was kind of the bulk of my skincare at the time, was just like adding some lavender essential oil to this tub of shea butter and mashing it around and spreading it all over myself. So this kind of lovely scent blend really makes me think of when I was in university, and it's a nice memory. In addition to that hefty amount of shea butter, you'll also find some panthenol or vitamin B5, some colloidal oatmeal, and of course a pretty hefty dose of aloe vera juice. Now when you first make this Shealoe emulsified body butter, you will probably think it looks kind of thin, and it does look kind of thin when you first make it, but have faith, it will thicken fairly substantially in a fairly short period of time. So just go ahead and put it in a wide mouth jar. And yeah, when you come back to it the next day, you will have something lovely and scoopable and decadent and not sort of like bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, I think that is enough chat, so we should get making. Please make sure you are reading the partner blog post for this formulation. As always, I link to it in the description box below this video, and there's so much helpful information in there. Information on substitution, scaling, shelf life, the whole formulation written out in both grams and percentages. There's tons of great information down there, so please make sure you check it out. Okay, let's dive in. We'll begin by combining the ingredients for our heated water phase in a small beaker. So in this beaker, I already have 7.3 grams of distilled water. To that, I'm going to add 10 grams vegetable glycerin, 20 grams aloe vera juice, 20 grams lavender hydrosol, 1.5 grams panthenol or vitamin B5, and 2 grams colloidal oatmeal. For our heated oil phase, you'll need 3.5 grams of glyceryl stearate and PEG 100 stearate, and it does have to be this emulsifier. For more details and a version that uses a different emulsifier, please read the blog. A hefty 25 grams shea butter. This is a lovely unrefined shea butter from Baraka Shea Butter, and this was a gift. You could use refined shea butter if you don't like the smell of unrefined shea butter. 5 grams fractionated coconut oil, and if you're looking for substitutions, please read the blog post linked in the description box below. 2 grams cetyl alcohol, and 0.3 grams xanthan gum. Before we heat anything through, we're going to weigh the water phase and note that weight so we can replace any water lost to evaporation during heating. To heat everything through, we're going to use a water bath. This is a wide, flat-bottom saute pan with about an inch or 3 centimeters of water in the bottom of it. And I'm going to go put this on the stovetop over medium heat for about half an hour to melt everything through and bring everything to the same temperature. And remember that the xanthan gum in the oil phase won't melt, so you will still see that, but everything else will be all nice and liquidy and lovely. Once everything has heated through and melted, you can remove your water bath from the heat and then remove the beakers from the water bath. Before we proceed, we will weigh the water phase and replace any water lost to evaporation with a bit of preheated distilled water. Up next, we will grab our immersion blender and blend to combine. All right, so that was about 2 minutes of blending. You can see that this is still very liquid, and I can feel that it is still really quite warm. So we're going to leave this to cool for about 5 minutes before coming back and checking on it. All right, it has been 5 minutes. This has thickened up a wee bit and has cooled down noticeably. Okay, so it was about another minute of blending, and this is still a little too warm to add the cool down phase, but I am just going to set this aside to continue to cool while we weigh out the cool down phase. So our cool down phase is pretty simple. It's just 3 ingredients, so we're going to be weighing everything into this small glass bowl first. So our preservative is 0.4 grams liquid Germall plus. We'll need 1 gram of a liquid calendula extract, or a different botanical extract that your skin loves, and 2 grams cyclomethicone. And if you need an alternative for this, please make sure you are reading the blog post and looking it up in the Humblebee and Me encyclopedia. Once the parent batch has cooled down, so the outside of the beaker is no longer warm to the touch, we can combine the 2 phases. So I'll begin by pouring a small amount of the lotion emulsion into the cool down phase. I'm going to whisk to combine. And once that is smooth, we will dump it back into the parent batch. And with that done, all that's left is packaging. For packaging, I'm going to use this 100 milliliter screw top plastic jar from Shealoe. This was a gift, and I'll link to it in the blog post, which is linked in the description box below. So just pour away. Now, I assume you're looking at that and thinking, that's awfully thin, but don't worry, it'll thicken up. So here is a version that is about a week old that's had a chance to sit, and it'll thicken up to this in about 24 hours. But there, you can see that that's a much thicker, more sort of emulsified body butter-ish consistency than this one, which is still quite runny. So, have no fear, it will thicken up really beautifully, and you will get this really lovely, rich application and whatnot, and it's still really just gorgeous and glidey and lovely. But yeah, don't worry, it's not going to stay this thin, but also, don't look at this and go, oh, it's this thin, and then put it in a pump top bottle, because that's not going to work very well after a day or two. And for a bit of an application demo with a sort of more reasonable amount of product, you can see that it really spreads around very easily. Like, it, compared to the previous versions of this, it just really glides across the skin. There's no kind of need to really work it into the skin. It really just does the work for you, which is just absolutely gorgeous. It's got a soft lavender smell with some sort of oaty shea notes that I really like, and yeah, it's just lovely. And there you go. So we just made a really lovely Shealoe emulsified body butter. Thank you so much for watching. please subscribe, and please make sure you're reading the full partner blog post to learn more about this. And make sure you check out the sort of the 2.0 Be Better of this as well, so you can see how I've made changes, and if you are so inclined, make both of them and see what you think. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, please read the blog post, please look up the ingredients in the Humblebee and Me Encyclopedia to learn more. And yeah, I will see you next time.